it could be a potentially massive week for the football club, in the sense that we are hoping, I think everyone's hoping, that we're going to get a result from the appeal process this week. Who knows when it's going to drop? But Everton's appeal now was just over 2 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Finished on the Friday.
Finished on the Friday, so listen, it's one of them, Chris, where I think we haven't really had anything massively new over the weekend or any new developments. We're all sort of looking ahead now. It feels like the end of the season is sort of in sight. We're gearing up for the home straight, and I just want to know how many points Everton are going.
I didn't think people have said that. Stuart Pearce asked me that. Psycho asked me that question. Wow, how do I answer that? Yeah, I mean, it's strange, like I said, people are trying to latch onto anything they can. I mean, the sight of Everton's barrister appeared at Goodison Park for the Tottenham game. People say, well, is that a good sign? He's not gone into hiding. He's showing his face. So the so-called Super Silk was there, wasn't he? We'll see how super he was when this result comes in. But yeah, without going into the ins and outs, I think, well, Keith Winers, the former chief executive of Everton, he thinks he can get the whole lot back because the whole system seemed to be flawed, but that really would be a result. Wait and see on that one. But without going into the details of it, I think the general consensus, a lot of people are obviously very passionate about this on both sides, for Everton and against Everton. It doesn't sit right to me, and I think to a lot of people, that Everton get a greater punishment than Portsmouth got for going into administration. The fact that it's as it stands, the biggest sporting sanction in 135 years of English top flight football. So if you're going off that, just sort of school of thought, that's 2 points off to go less than Portsmouth. So is anything more than that a bonus? I don't know.
How are you feeling about it all, Gav? It's one of them, isn't it? I think if it comes out and we've got no points back, or we've got all our points back, I think, personally, I'll breathe a sigh of relief that this bit is just done and over. We can move on. But then you've got this next one looming in the background as well.
That's the important thing to remember here, isn't it? Whatever judgment comes out on the appeal not only impacts the first commission's decision, it impacts the second.
Very much so. Yeah,
that's the thing here. So if we get a favourable version of events from the appeal panel, well, that's helpful not only for this 10-point deduction, but what happens thereafter. Yeah. We spoke about this before, and then you just get the impression, though, that if we were to lose a few points off the 10 this time, they will get another couple added on the second one, and if it stays at 10, we might not get anything in the second one. You might ultimately just end up with just getting 10-point deduction across both commissions. That could be politically the best way of doing it. I mean, I'd rather just know now. Whatever, I've got both of them. To be fair, just what is the judge? Can't wait until April, May time. Regarding the appeal itself, my view is I'm not holding a lot of hope out, but we'll have to wait and see. There may be some legal stuff in there that's not being adhered to, but it's not a court, is it? They're just following the Premier League rules, and I think there will be. I mean, people are saying, that they mirrored the Premier League, their sanctions policy, but I don't read it that way. I think there's possibly 8 points for going over and 2 points for the fact that they said we misled the Premier League over the interest on the stadium. We said the loan was for the stadium, and then we said no, sorry, it wasn't. I think that's in the judgment as well, the 10 points, and that was the thing with me. It might have been a good explaining that. That 10 points is because of this, but we've also included it was just whatever number of points for what they said was we would give misleading information, and that might have been helpful. The fact there's just a across the board 10 points hasn't helped. And I also think, and I said this the first time we discussed this on here, is I'm trying to think of the logic of, they said we're not going to fine Everton because Mashiri's a rich man. That was one of the things he said. But actually, if you lose 10 points, that can be 5 places in the Premier League, which is £3 million a place now, isn't it? Something like that. Costs you £15 million. So
a lot more if you get relegated.
Yeah. But even if you stay in the Premier League, it's effectively a fine, isn't it? You're taking 15 million quid off you. And I didn't really understand that logic. That didn't really explain that. And that for me was, if I was doing the appeal, that would be one of the first questions I'd be asking. You do realise there's a fine involved in this? Then we say, yeah, and that's what your sanction is. That's fine, but it wasn't brought out in the original Commission's report. And that would have been helpful. And so those are the type of things we should be discussing. I'm not sure about all the mitigations we put forward. A lot of them, I think, cause us more damage than good. When he said some of them are novel.
Yeah,
that you're in very dangerous territory. So we'll see. Not hopeful, but anything will be helpful. And I do like to think that whatever, the second commission may redress some of the inequalities of the first commission.
Yeah, I think that is important to stress, Chris, because I think from Everton's point of view, the way in which they've gone about appealing this one, it feels like the sort of ingredients of this appeal are very much going to be what they're going to use to fight the next one, isn't it, further down the line?
Yeah, I mean, the talk of the double jeopardy, isn't it? I suppose the historic case, of course, each case is very different. And Sheffield Wednesday, they got 12 in the Championship, didn't they? And they went to appeal, that got half to 6.
That was to do with the stadium, wasn't it?
Yeah, so,
yeah.
It's impossible, isn't it? Because, I mean, we could all give our sort of educated guesses on this, and the likes of Gavin and Joe are very well read on this, and they probably give you a lot more insight than anybody else. I mean, I've been hosting myself on podcasts where it's been you and Joe, Gav, and there's a lot of the issues that aren't often addressed because it's so emotive for both sides. Absolutely. Isn't it? Yeah. And also, but it's just like Gav says, it needs to be sorted, because we can't have a situation where it's decided who's relegated and who stays up after the final ball's kicked, and it's going to the courts. I mean, that's not fair on anybody, on Everton or any of the rivals, really. And the supposed best club product in world football, the Premier League, and it's going to the courts. It needs sorting.
Well, we could have 4 different points totals this season. The one end on the pitch. Yeah. Then anything that comes from the original commission, the 10-point deduction, that could then get changed.
Yeah.
This time, and then we get another points deduction on next one, and then that goes to appeal, and then that got changed. Could end up with 4 or 5 different points totals this season, which is just a ludicrous position. Yeah, really,
it's remarkable, and like you said there, Chris, in the sense that you don't want to be finding out Everton have been relegated after the ball's been kicked.
Yeah,
sorry, after the final ball of the season's been kicked, but we're kind of in this weird situation now where I'm just thinking of like a fixture off the top of my head we've got coming the next few weeks, like Brighton away.
Yeah,
like. In normal circumstances, if we get some points back, you could look at that and go, well, a point's fine there.
Yeah.
But then if we've got 10 off or 15 off, it's like, well, we probably need to go and try and win that game. And all of a sudden, like, as a supporter, you're looking at these fixtures coming up, and you might be coming out of the ground after getting a draw and going, don't know if that's good or not really, because of what's going to happen. Like, there could be situations later in the season where we're level away from home, or we're level in a game at home, and a point might be enough to keep us up, and we play out the game and we get a point, say, against Sheffield United, our last home game, isn't it? And then that takes us 6 points clear of the relegation zone. Then we get 5. This is the mad reality.
We're living in. Yeah, got to play Luton. The Palace game a week on Monday. Well, the Palace knows what our points deduction or is stayed, or we've got an extra point, couple of points added on. That could affect how they play it. I think we were talking about this the other week, is once you knew they wanted to speed things up, where it was inevitable they were going to have like 2 potential commissions in the same season, they should have just scrapped it temporarily for 1 year, the 3-year rolling one. They should have had the 4-year rolling one, and just had one judgment across 4 years. So we'd have one judgment across the 4 years. And there's not £105 million, £140 million threshold, and then that should have just been. That should have just been the rule. So we just have that for everybody for this season. So I know it's not ideal, but you're only getting hurt once in the season. There's only one punishment in the season, rather than this position where they've managed to give themselves 2. And what it shows as well is, I don't think anybody would, when you set these rules in place, I don't think they ever thought that anybody would breach them. Because there's such an obvious flaw in the original rule that what happens if you breach the following year? You did have no provision for that in the rules, did they? And I think that's also shown up that the rules itself were probably a little bit flawed. But we've just got to wait and see, haven't we?